The headlines called it a tragedy, but the truth was far stranger and far more shocking. In his final moments, Malcolm Jamal Warner left behind clues, a broken voice message, a letter no one was meant to read, and secrets that tore apart the people closest to him. What nobody realized was that the real story wasn't about a star's downfall, but about betrayals, confessions, and a mystery that would haunt everyone who loved him. Before the world even learned of his fate, the foundation of everything he believed in had already been ripped away. And now, with every new leak and every raw confession, the question isn't just how he died, but who was there to truly know him, and what devastating truth came out when it was already too late. People loved to believe Malcolm Jamal Warner had it all figured out. To fans, he was the calm in the storm, a star who made millions smile, the big brother people wished they'd had, the reliable heart of a TV family America claimed as its own. But behind the cameras, Malcolm was never allowed to outgrow the shadow of his own fame. Even his closest relationships blurred the lines between reality and performance. As his star power faded and the nostalgia machine ramped up, the truth hiding behind the smiles became impossible to ignore. The first crack appeared in the public image just hours before the world would hear of Malcolm's death. It began with a single chilling message, one nobody was supposed to find. Branches of whispers, rumors, and anonymous posts started flooding message boards. A voice memo, allegedly left on his phone in his final hours, wasn't just any goodbye, it was a confession. A deep tremor in his voice, trembling with regret, he said, "Tell Tempestt I forgive her. Claire, I'm ready." Those few words sent shockwaves through everyone who heard them. Not because of what he said, but because of what he left unsaid. Who was he forgiving, and what for? It wasn't long before the internet was ablaze with theories, but that was just the tip of the iceberg. Before Malcolm's fate hit headlines, two women who had shaped almost every part of his life were already caught in the storm. Tempestt Bledsoe, the woman Malcolm's friends called his anchor, sometimes his heartbreak. And Phylicia Rashad, the mother on screen and off, who protected his privacy long after the world lost interest. For years, fans watched these bonds stay strong, both on The Cosby Show and beyond. But nobody knew what happened off stage, when the lights dimmed and the roles faded. Until now. When a leaked, tear-soaked letter surfaced online, it painted a picture uglier than any tabloid could invent. Insiders revealed that for years, Phylicia Rashad had sealed away secrets, protecting Malcolm's legacy, managing his pain, keeping his struggles quiet. But that silence snapped the day Malcolm died. Phylicia's confession, quiet but devastating, landed like a knife. Even the ones who love you most can't always save you. Those words echoed through social feeds, past co-stars, and anyone who thought they knew what was going on behind the Cosby family curtain. The unraveling started at a pace no one was prepared for. Within hours of the first leaks, fans were frantic for answers. At the center was that haunting audio clip, Tempest's voice, shaking with sobs. "If you forgive me, maybe I'll never forgive myself." The rawness wasn't performance. It was the sound of a lifetime's regret pouring out, shattering whatever was left of her tough exterior. She whispered, "I never meant to leave you like that." The line went dead. That fleeting moment would become the defining note in a story already overflowing with heartbreak. Insiders close to Malcolm say he hadn't been himself in months. Rumors flew about canceled gigs and ghosted calls. For weeks, he barely ate, barely slept, isolating himself from everyone. Only Phylicia could get through to him, sometimes just for seconds, sometimes not at all. On her final visit, she described it to friends as seeing a child, not a grown man. Malcolm collapsed into her arms, no words, just tremors. And then, just before she left, he pressed a note into her hand. It read, "Some lights burn so quietly, you don't know they've gone out until you're left in the dark." Let that settle. Because even now, the world is still struggling to piece together the fragments of Malcolm's shattered heart. It wasn't just the fans who were caught off guard. Old friends thought they could spot the warning signs. Missed calls, strange Instagram posts, those rare but painful interviews where he seemed to be somewhere else entirely. And yet, no one could break through the wall he'd built around himself. Only Phylicia understood what that darkness felt like. She said, he wasn't acting. He wasn't holding back. He was just gone. But what truly set the internet on fire was what happened at one seemingly normal cast reunion, just 3 nights before it all fell apart. Supposedly a party to celebrate their decades together, It instead became the stage for their final confrontation. Cameras didn't catch the full conversation, but witnesses saw enough. Tempestt was gripping Malcolm's wrist, eyes wild with something like desperation, pleading with him as he stood motionless. In front of the people who'd once been his family, he detached, pulled free, and walked out. Nobody realized it at the time, but that would be the last time Malcolm was seen publicly. That night, he drove home alone. No driver, no friends, just him and decades of memories echoing in the playlist filling his car. 3 hours later, Phylicia received a blocked call. When she finally listened to the voicemail, it knocked her to the floor. It was Tempestt, her voice breaking, admitting a truth her heart had held in for years. I told him I was done lying. He asked if I ever loved him. I couldn't answer, couldn't carry both of us anymore. In that moment, whatever was left between them crumbled. The grief was brutal, unforgiving. It wasn't cinematic, it wasn't poetic, it was pure pain. Malcolm shut the world out, switched off his phone, cut all contact, and sources say, seemed to give up. What haunted everyone later was a final note found on his phone, labeled, "For the ones I never got to say goodbye to." His words, "I never stopped being that 12-year-old boy, Claire. You held me together, now I need you to tell them. Tell them I'm sorry I stayed silent." His last words trailed off, "Tell Tempestt I forgive her. Claire, I'm ready." Notice he didn't call her Phylicia. He called her by the name that had always meant mother to him, not just on TV, but in real life. That recording has never been released, Phylicia says, because it's the only part of Malcolm the world doesn't deserve to consume. He gave the world enough. Let him have peace now, if only it were that easy. Once news of the leaked voicemail hit social media, everything spiraled. Hashtags popped up everywhere. Ask justice for Malcolm, ask to forgive Meist, last your final words. TikTok and Instagram were flooded with Cosby Show tribute edits, fan theories, memorial murals, and endless debates. Some fans swore Tempestt was a victim of heartbreak too, while others demanded an explanation. Why did she disappear after Malcolm died? Why didn't she return for his memorial? Why did she confess when it was already too late? The anger and confusion only grew with every new leak. Yet the real tragedy wasn't just about blame, it was about silence. Nobody saw how much Malcolm was bleeding inside until it was too late. His life wasn't just a Hollywood heartbreak. It was a collapse that awards, reruns, and TV nostalgia could never repair. He wasn't just a character. He was a boy forced to become a man on screen, his every move chronicled, every pain scrutinized, every mistake magnified, until there was nothing left but loneliness. As the sun came up over Los Angeles after Malcolm's death, those closest to him realized something devastating. The truth wasn't just a rumor anymore. It had a voice, a face, and an unbreakable timestamp. Online, millions replayed Tempest's message. "If you forgive me, maybe I'll never forgive myself." That pain threaded through every tribute, every news cycle, every memory from a childhood spent with a TV icon who was all along just trying to be seen. Behind the scenes, Phylicia vanished from the public eye, but she reemerged with a handwritten letter Malcolm had given her 5 days before his death. His instructions: "Give this to the world only when I'm no longer here to carry the weight." The note didn't hold back. "I loved her more than I loved myself. Maybe that was my mistake. I thought if I gave her everything, she'd remember me when the noise got too loud. But in the end, she chose the noise, and I drowned in it." Social media paused. People stared at their phones, unsure how to process heartbreak that cut this deep. Was it heartbreak, an accident, betrayal, or all three? No one knew for sure. Friends said Malcolm was changed near the end, silent, lost, a shell of the man he used to be. His sister, who'd flown in from Costa Rica, told reporters he would stand outside at night, silently whispering Tempest's name to the wind, begging for a reply she would never send. That detail left fans speechless and sent conspiracy theories spinning, and still, new recordings surfaced. A private voicemail from Malcolm to Tempestt, 2 nights before he died, emerged online. His voice, barely audible over the ocean waves, held a pain deeper than anything he'd shown in public. "If I die tomorrow, just tell the truth. Don't protect your image. Don't run from the hurt you caused. I'm not asking you to love me. Just stop pretending you didn't." Those sentences ignited a storm. Celebrities tweeted crying face emojis, and fans cried in comment sections across every platform. Phylicia had stayed silent until she couldn't anymore. When she finally spoke, the truth she shared shook the entertainment world. Malcolm told me something a few months ago that I kept to myself. He said, "Even the ones who love you can't always see who's crying for you and who's crying for themselves." With one line, she made the distance between fact and fiction disappear. Suddenly, the world questioned everything. Every smile on set, every on-screen hug, every reunion selfie. But the most haunting twist came from a hospice nurse who worked near Malcolm's Costa Rican villa. She described the night he died in chilling detail. He was alone when paramedics arrived, barely conscious. His last words were, "Tell Tempestt I forgive her. Claire, I'm ready." That final sentence proved it wasn't just a performance for the cameras or fans. This was his reality. In the end, it was his TV mother he trusted most, not Hollywood or the friends who claimed to know him best. Tempestt couldn't escape the tidal wave of grief. Her Instagram post was only black, no photo, just these words. "He told me I was the only one who could save him. I didn't even try." With that, every unsaid feeling in their story spilled out for the world. Silence became the loudest confession of all. Tribute videos multiplied, viral murals spread across cities, and TikTokers lip-synced Malcolm's last recorded words. The phrase "I loved her more than I loved myself" was spray-painted on the walls of more than one city. People weren't just grieving. They felt robbed of answers, closure, and the chance to tell Malcolm he was seen. It's easy to paste labels on tragedy. Was it the price of fame? Egos gone toxic? A love story tainted by a spotlight too bright? No one could say for certain, but one fact stood above the rest. Malcolm Jamal Warner gave his heart and never got it back. And even now, his voice seems to echo, maybe not in sound, but in endless sorrow. The investigation didn't just end at heartbreak. Whistleblowers inside the Costa Rican resort challenged the official timeline. At first, the story was tragic, but neat. Malcolm drowned rescuing his daughter. But an anonymous staff member gave a conflicting account. He was alone, they insisted. No child in the water, no screams. He just sat, then walked slowly into the ocean. It didn't look like a rescue. It looked like surrender. That word pounded through newsrooms, forums, and group chats around the world. As news hardened into controversy, so did the blame games. Tempestt reportedly collapsed at the private memorial, overcome by Malcolm's final audio message. "He still loved me," she sobbed, "even after everything. But forgiveness doesn't erase pain." Meanwhile, Phylicia Rashad reportedly refused to sit anywhere near Tempestt at the service, unable to bear the blame swirling in the air between them. The TV family America looked up to was now divided, torn by heartbreak, secrets, and regrets that couldn't be fixed with apologies. The Cosby Show family, once a model of unity, was fractured. Leaked group chat screenshots revealed former cast members pointing fingers at each other. "We all let him fade into the background," one bitter message read. And when he came back, it was already too late. At the same time, Malcolm's real-life daughter was sheltered far from the press, supposedly haunted by the question, why did Daddy go into the water alone? Why? Nobody wanted to answer, but the pain was impossible to ignore. With official accounts falling apart, millions started demanding answers. The hashtag #JarJusticeFormalCom exploded overnight. People wanted the truth, not excuses. A movement for reinvestigation swept social media. Some insisted no amount of blame could fix what was broken, and called out the media circus as nothing but noise over a man who never got to rest. But the pain didn't stop in private messages or funeral pews. Even as fans grieved, more secrets spilled out. Investigators began quietly re-examining the case. New testimonies, leaked voicemails. The truth looked less like a tragic accident and more like years of silent suffering boiling over. And still, everyone who loved Malcolm was left behind with wounds that wouldn't heal. What truly haunts this story isn't just what happened, but all the things nobody noticed until it was too late. Behind the humor, the nostalgia, and the family photos, Malcolm was still that little boy who'd spent a childhood working so others could smile. The applause would eventually stop, but the loneliness never really did. Family, friends, and even fans started looking back with fresh eyes on every interaction, every nostalgia-driven interview, every awkward silence at reunions and conventions. Now, the moments that felt awkward or forced suddenly seemed desperately sad. A man starved of real connection, surrounded by people who didn't see how deep his pain went. Some speculated that Malcolm's heartbreak started years earlier, when fame peaked, then ebbed, leaving him alone with memories of a love that never survived Hollywood. He tried to rebuild, to find meaning past the applause, but was always drawn back to the ones who knew him before he was anyone else. For Malcolm, that meant Tempestt and Phylicia, two women who symbolized safety, even when safety was no longer possible. After the funeral, more cracks in the story began to appear. Gossip magazines chased every thread, desperate for the next leak. But insiders were careful. If Malcolm's secrets got out, it would expose not just his pain, but the fragile stability of everyone who'd claimed to protect him, who truly knew the depth of his suffering, and who stood by as he slipped further into isolation. The world lost more than an actor when Malcolm Jamal Warner left. It lost the hope that nostalgia could fix what was broken, that sometimes the family you see on screen isn't the one that saves you when the show is over. Inside the heart of every fan was a single, shattering question. Why couldn't anyone help him before the final act? But perhaps the most sobering lesson came from Phylicia Rashad's last public message. Whispered at the edge of the service's chaos, it lingered like a curse. This was never supposed to happen like this. Nobody disagreed, but it was the silence afterward that rang loudest. A silence filled by the weight of secrets, missed calls, and confessions that were too late to save anyone. Now, as the dust settles, the world keeps looking for answers. Each new rumor, confession, or theory only makes the heartbreak worse. People debate endlessly. Was it surrender, heartbreak, betrayal, or just a tragedy that didn't need a villain? In the end, there may never be a clean answer. Still, behind every mural, every hashtag, every story passed between friends over streaming reruns is something more powerful than speculation: grief. The kind you can't fix with fame, success, or even forgiveness. Some stories don't get a second chance, and some heartbreaks can only be whispered about when it's already too late. That's what makes Malcolm Jamal Warner's final story so devastating. But the chain of leaks and confessions may not be over yet. Family members are breaking their vows of secrecy, private voicemails are popping up, and even former Hollywood associates are starting to talk. Every day, more secrets see daylight, each one more explosive than the last. So maybe the right question isn't just what happened to Malcolm. Maybe the real question is why it took so long for anyone to notice he was fading before our eyes. Did someone know he was in danger? Could someone have intervened? Or is this just the latest in a long line of stories that Hollywood tries to bury, hoping the memories will fade before the truth comes out? This isn't just about an actor lost too soon. It's about a reckoning, about the mess that's left when silence, fame, and unresolved wounds crash into each other. If you've made it this far, you know this isn't just a story to forget after the credits roll. Now it's your voice that matters. What do you believe happened? Was this really just a tragic accident or something deeper, darker, and far more deliberate? Drop your thoughts in the comments. We want to hear from you. Like, share, and subscribe because this story is far from over. More secrets are surfacing, more tapes are leaking, and the final truth? It's coming faster than anyone expected. Stay locked in, because what happens next might just shake Hollywood to its core.